Hey, what's going on, people? Indie Pride here, and if you were awesome and smart enough to click on this video, you're in for a treat, because this is the most insane Call of Warhammer replay I've ever gotten. And that's saying a lot, because I've uploaded some crazy battles from this mod over the last 2 years. This is a 5-way free-for-all for Lizardmen Temple City, a scenario by Synn in the Dark Cloud that pits the Children of the Old Ones against the High Elves, the Dark Elves, the Skaven, and the Demons of Chaos in a no-holds-barred, kill everything that moves kind of situation. Slann Mage Priest and his Saurus Temple Guard and Pterodon Riders have control of the city for now, but without help from the reinforcing Lizardmen army, the garrison will be quickly overrun. Drukai and Azur approach from the east, Skaven from the west, and the Demons of Chaos position directly in the path of Lizardmen's salvation from the south. It is going to be a crazy game, about as brutal and close as a battle with more than 10,000 troops can get. So, Chaos is undivided, which means we'll be seeing Demonettes of Slaanesh, Bloodletters, Flamers, you saw the Lord of Change, the Greater Demon of Tzeentch, spewing Eldritch Flame, Chosen Knights of Khorne, Dragon Ogres, Sorcerers on Discs, and even a few Chaos Warriors thrown in for good measure, and a Chaos War Mammoth. At the Shrine of the Old Ones up top, we have Scar Veteran Cavalry in the vanguard, and an ancient Stegadon with an Engine of the Gods towering above the Lizardmen battle line, and ranks upon ranks of Kroxgors and Saurus will form the bulk of the infantry. Temple Guard also to provide some meat and killing power in the melee engagement. For the Skaven, most of the great clans are represented here. Assassins from Clan Eshin, Rat Ogres from Clan Molder, Clan Rats from Fester, and Storm Vermin from Clan Rectus, and the crazy Scryer war machines we all know and love, Warblack Jezzail weapon teams, Ratling Gunners, and some Doomwheels as well. Mobile artillery platforms that can utterly decimate blobbed infantry. Those assassins will be quick to get up onto the walls and establish a beachhead for these Skaven hordes. Across the battlefield, marching from the east and breaking from the trees right now, we have the Dark Elves. Dread Spears and Bleak Swords in the vanguard, trying to ascend the walls and assault the main plaza as soon as possible. And they'll have a relatively easy go at the walls. Lizardmen defenders are stretched very thin, but that's what sets up such an insane battle here. It's not the fight for the walls that's going to be tough. It's what happens once every faction arrayed on this battlefield make their way inside. Mix of Slann Mage Priest, Poison Wind Globadiers, Lords of Change, Tzeentch Sorcerers with choke points, and blobbed infantry, and you can imagine the carnage that's on the way. Here come the Azur, the High Elves of Ulthuan, Swordmasters of Hoeth, White Lions of Trace, and the Mages of Safari, all on the field. White Lion Chariots, Silver Helms, and Dragon Princes of Caledor will make up the powerful Azur heavy cavalry. So lots of mobility on the field, but cavalry is not going to be particularly useful once the fight for the city begins, so we'll have to figure out a way to use them on the open plain. So of all the armies arrayed on the field right now, the Demons of Chaos, the Chaos Undivided, are certainly under the most pressure. The Lizardmen are inside the Temple City, and they have a Slann Mage Priest that's going to be dropping bombs on their head, and they have a gigantic Lizardmen army on their ass, directly up the hill behind them, so if they don't get inside the city before the Lizardmen army comes barreling down the hill, they're going to be in serious trouble. With that said, just the Slann Mage Priest by himself is going to be able to cause some serious carnage in this game if he's used properly, because he's essentially a gigantic artillery piece that can flatten an entire unit in a single shot with one of his spells. So the Chaos Undivided forces are moving up now. Saurus are milling through the streets, trying to get ready to defend the gate, and the siege towers from Chaos have hit the walls. Even some Skaven assassins are up there now as well. So the Slann Mage Priest is about to open fire, and we'll see what he's targeting, but there are some very high value targets on the Chaos side. Pretty much their entire army is made up of incredibly expensive and elite demon units, probably the most powerful army on the field right now, but they're also arguably in the worst position with the High Elves to their right and the Lizardmen directly behind them. The Slann Mage Priest just let it rip with one of his spells, and those Slaaneshi Demonettes are in a bad spot. They're going to have to bend over and take it. My god, look at that carnage. That is what happens when you are not paying attention to enemy spellcasters in Call of Warhammer. You lose a unit, just like that. In the blink of an eye, it is gone, but that's what you should expect from the strongest spellcasters in Warhammer Fantasy. That Slann Mage Priest is going to be a problem. Warp Lightning Cannon's trying to punch holes through the walls, and that is going to kick the Lizardmen into high gear, and they're going to descend from their mountaintop fortress, the Shrine of the Old Ones, and try to break for the temple city itself. So Kroxgor's sword spears moving down. It's just such an epic sight. Look at this map, man. This looks exactly like you would expect Lustria to look, like one of their temple cities to look like. Just an amazing custom map. And of course, the Aztec cities in Medieval 2 just look so good with the Lizardmen aesthetic in general. But the Disc Sorcerers are opening up fire now and immolating a bunch of these Saurus warriors as they charge down the hill. They're going to be taking a lot of losses because the Warp Lightning Cannons and the Doomwheels are also going to start focusing on this Lizardmen army as they charge down the hill. And Synn of the Dark Cloud has his work cut out for him in this one. He's in not a great position, honestly, because the Skaven artillery is going to be able to focus down his Lizardmen army as they come down the hill. All these Flamers and Disc Sorcerers are going to be able to unleash a ton of carnage on his army before he's able to close into melee, and he still has to bust through all of Chaos Undivided and at least part of the Skaven army before he's able to get inside the city and reinforce his brother Stan from Warhammer Weekend Times, who's playing the other Lizardmen army. Now, Richard is playing as the Dark Elves, I am playing as the High Elves, and Gojira is playing as the Skaven, and I'm going to unleash my cavalry assault on this Dark Elf army. They're trying to make it inside, and I'm just going to get some nice charges into the flank of these Hargoneth Executioners with my Silver Helms, and then quickly pull out and try to get some cycle charging and destroy as much of this infantry as possible before they're able to get inside the city. Now, I've got another rear charge lined up here. Looks like some Silver Helms going to be able to charge directly into the back of some Black Ark Corsairs. Beautiful charge there. Going to be able to decimate that infantry unit and then pull out. Interesting thing here, though, is the Dark Elves are starting out this battle as an attacker, but they are quickly going to shift into the role of defender, because there are almost no Lizardmen defenders on this side of the Temple City. He'll be able to take the walls and then defend against my army, because I was further away at the start of the battle. So I might have to attack Dark Elves, who are then defending a Lizardmen Temple City, which is weird in and of itself. But in the center, absolute bedlam. Chaos is reigning. Kroxgors and Pterodon Riders all engaging the Chaos Chosen Knights of Khorne, Saurus Scar Veterans, and Cold One Riders trying to make it inside. And the Demons of Chaos have actually made, much of their army has already made it into the Temple City and are now grinding their way through the streets. A bunch of the Saurus already dead in the city streets. Screamers of Tzeentch, Lords of Change, and some Bloodletters of Khorne wading through the city streets, and the Skaven have also gotten a foothold inside the city. Half of Gojira's army is now coming into the central engagement between Chaos and the Lizardmen. We've got Chaos War Mammoths stampeding through the lines, and Kroxgors making their break for the gate as well. But once they get inside, what are they going to be able to do? That's the thing. There's a bunch of demons waiting for them. Stan from Warhammer Weekend Times, the other Lizardmen army, needs to push out of the plaza so they can collapse in and surround that demon horde. Chaos Warman is doing a lot of damage here, but the Warp Lightning Cannons are also firing in, getting some really good shots off on that cavalry and those Saurus warriors. Wow, and one of the generals is already going to go down. Chaos Undivided General is dead early on. And so much immolation going on as those Warp Lightning Cannons open fire. The Doomwheels, rather. They're essentially mobile Warp Lightning Cannons. Shooting into the Chaos War Mammoths. Remember, Skaven and Chaos are not allied in this game. They can also kill each other. And the Chaos War Mammoth gonna go down, completely burned by one of those shots. That was really cool looking. Entire elephant model gonna drop to that shot. And now the Lizardmen are pushing through, trying to make it inside. But a bunch of Slaaneshi Demonettes and Bloodletters of Khorne are waiting for them. And that's not to say anything of the Flamers and the Sorcerers on discs that can just absolutely punish blobs of infantry, just completely eviscerate them in a couple of shots. It is going to be tough going for Synn of the Dark Cloud's Lizardmen army here. So many of them are trying to route right now, trying to make it back to the Central Plaza, but they're going to be routing through Demonette units, and we're going to just cut them down. And they're blobbed up, man. They are really blobbed up right now. And this is not what you want when there are Doomwheels about 100 yards away. This is exactly the kind of unit that can punish them heavily. Warlock Jezzael's also shooting in from the flank. This is disastrous for that reinforcing Lizardmen army. But even if they're not able to bust through the line, remember that there's still a full-strength Lizardmen army defending the plaza with Temple Guard, and the best blob punisher in the game with the Slann Mage Priest. So the Old Ones Alliance ain't out of this one yet, but Jezzaels are starting to open up fire into the flank of these Temple Guard, and the Doomwheels are going to let it rip. That first shot, and that actually didn't do that much damage. I was expecting more there. That's weird. They're going to shoot again pretty soon here. Oh my god, here it comes. Oh my god. Death and destruction and a raging inferno engulfing all of those poor souls. And Crispy Dinosaur is now on the menu. Rip. Rip to that reinforcing Lizardmen army. A couple handful of crack scores made it in, and they're actually bashing the heads of those Chaos Warriors real nicely. But damn, that was insane. And I felt so bad for Synn at this point, because that was his reward for making this awesome custom scenario, to get blown apart in the first 10 minutes of the battle by Doomwheels and by Chaos Sorcerers on Dis. Not a good way for the Lizardmen to start, but there is still that full army in the plaza, so they are not out of this one yet. The Dark Elves have now, like I said, become the defenders. They're now defending the walls against my High Elf assault. He was able to get inside the city very quickly. Very nice move by Richard, honestly, to just send his army forward as soon as he possibly could. What he could have done was just fight me on the open plain, and whoever had units left would have then assaulted the city. Instead, he got his army into high gear, moved inside, and now he has a great defensive position. It's basically going to be able to overwhelm a lot of my forces, because all his infantry and crossbows are on the walls or below the walls. So he can fire up with his crossbows, with his dark shards, and shred my units as they get up on the walls, and his infantry will be able to defend the walls very well also. Remember, if you're having a siege battle where both armies are the same size, it's very hard for the attackers, because the defenders obviously have the advantage with the walls and the fact their arrow towers will be firing and all of that. So going to be tough going for the High Elves. Over here, Skaven, Warpblack Jezzails getting shredded by Flamers from below, getting immolated by them, and Demonettes and the Screamers of Tzeentch are moving through the streets trying to engage the Skaven. Albino Guard and some Clan Pestilence units are going to be engaging over there, and then some Storm Vermin are going to drop their halberds just in time as my Silver Helms tried to charge in to his Ratling Gunners. So I'm trying to see if Gojira is paying attention. I want to take his elite units off the field early on if I can with my fast movers. Those Silver Helms will be able to shred those Ratling Gunners in seconds if I'm able to get a good charge off. Dragon Princes of Caledor and the Silver Helms are going to be chasing down the routing units, making sure they don't come back. Remember, every single model and unit that dies here is going to be one step closer towards taking that plaza and ultimate victory for the Azure. So using my cavalry out on the open plain, chasing down routing units is going to be important. Ratling Gunners are preparing for the charge of my Silver Helms, who are mobilizing again to charge in. Again, I'm testing Gojira, seeing if he can pay attention to the city engagement and also my cavalry out on this flank. So I'm going to be charging in. They're incredibly fast. It's very deceptive. You look at a Silver Helm and not realize how fast they're moving until they're right up on top of you. Charging in now, and the Ratling Gunners are going to open fire here and stop them. Absolutely brick wall them. Completely stop the charge there and shred my Silver Helms. And that was awesome. I mean, I was very sad about seeing that occur, because obviously that's a expensive cavalry unit that could have done a ton of damage, but they lost half their models there, and they literally got stonewalled by a Ratling Gunner volley, which was awesome to see a cavalry charge literally get stopped. That was really cool. So Ratling Gunners doing work there, actually going to survive that engagement and take out half my cav unit, and the Demons and Skaven are still fighting. Bloodletters of Khorne and some Plague Monks are engaging, and actually the Plague Monks are completely surrounded by Demonettes and Slanesh on one flank, and the Bloodletters of Khorne on the other. Definitely looks like the Demons are in the ascendancy outside the city. Way more melee units, and honestly higher tier melee units than the Pestilence Clan Monks. And actually, friendly fire from the Wart Lightning Cannon is going to cause those Skaven to rout. So very Skaven-esque right there. Going to be causing some own friendly fire and morale penalties to their own troops. And we'll shift over and look at how I'm doing over here. The Azure are ascending on top of the walls, and this is just going to be a tough melee engagement. A lot of Black Art Corsairs, Lothern, Seaguard, and Swordmasters of Hoeth wading into melee now. Going to be tough going for both sides, but again, the Dark Elves have all their infantry inside the city. I only have 5 or 6 units up on the walls and below the walls at the moment. So Swordmasters are going to be engaging the Hargoneth Executioners, their Dark Elf counterparts, which would normally be a pretty decent engagement for the Swordmasters. I think they might be a little bit better. The problem, and this is, again, a really nice move from Richard, his Dark Shards are positioned directly below the walls to fire into the flank, and with those armor-piercing shots and the very high rate of fire those Dark Shards have, they're just going to shred through these Swordmasters like butter. No shield block chance. They're going to get ripped apart by that crossbow fire, which is unfortunate. That's a very elite tier infantry unit that I would like to save to late game if possible. Crocsgores on their last legs, but the Saurus Spears are holding very nicely against these Bloodletters of Khorne and the Warriors of Chaos Undivided. Flamers and Disc Sorcerers waiting to fire in. Not sure they'll be able to because of line of sight. The Dragon Princes of Caledor and Silverhelms are still on patrol, still trying to get rid of a lot of these routing units, make sure they don't come back. No reason to commit them into the melee engagement yet. Wait until more stuff is beaten up, and then I can finish them off with those powerful rear charges. But the demons are definitely gaining a foothold in the city, pushing forward, and I've actually gotten some Swordmasters of Hoeth and my White Lions of Trace. They're also moving towards the plaza as well. I was thinking about getting a rear charge into those Crocsgores, but it might be better to let them engage. They could probably take out a lot of those Dread Spears and Dark Riders by themselves, so I'm not sure I have to engage my infantry anytime soon. I think there were some cold ones moving my way as well, which I have to be very careful of. In the central plaza, these cold ones are ripping apart the Skink Archers, who have absolutely no hope in melee. But there's an even deadlier conflict raging over here. Saurus Temple Guard fighting with tooth and claw against the Albino Guard, the elite Storm Vermin of Clan Scruton, loyal to the Grey Seers, Rat Ogres from Clan Molder in the mix as well. But these Eshin Assassins are kind of milling about at the moment, looking like a real juicy target. And the Mage Priest channeling the winds of magic, firing at them. And good night, sweet prince. Sweet dreams. Not a single one of those Eshin Assassins makes it out alive after that spell. I mean, you guys thought I was exaggerating about this battle, dude. About the insanity. Well, I wasn't. But we're not even close to done, because Poison Wind Globadiers are coming, and Scryer and Eshin might not get along all that well, because the great clans are always vying for power. Of course, there's a huge power struggle between those great clans, but Globadiers in this choke point can unleash some serious vengeance on these Temple Guard. They're pulling out now. It looked like they might have been trying to run into melee, which would be weird, but they're pulling back now. And if they're able to get line of sight here, this could be really, really bad in a choke point like this when the Saurus Temple Guard are this blobbed up. They're about to fire, winding up to throw some shots in now. Grenades going off. Breathe deep, Temple Guard. Let those fumes wash over you. Noxious gas drifting over the ranks of Saurus, and look at that carnage. Saurus Old Blood gonna die here, asphyxiated by the Poison Wind. And that might be the best use of Poison Wind Globadiers I've ever seen in this mod. That just completely obliterated this flank. War Machine kill count for Clan Scryer is through the roof at this point. Their units are performing exceptionally well, way better than most of the other clans on the battlefield right now. And seriously, that Temple Guard flank just completely melted. That is a game changer right there. That might mean Skaven are in the ascendancy, being able to take out that many Saurus in the choke point, which would have been a really tough fight for all those Albino Guard. Now, there was probably some friendly fire there as well. I'm not sure how much friendly fire there was. You can see some gases drifting on them as well. Oh, actually, it is killing quite a few. That is so Skaven, dude. Like, that's what's so amazing about this mod. Look at how likely it is for these Skaven units to actually kill their own stuff. That's what they're known for in the lore, too. That's awesome. But the Demons of Chaos and the Warriors of Chaos Undivided are still marching up that main central thoroughfare towards the central plaza. They're doing all right. They've killed a lot of troops. Yorick Lothbrok is the one commanding the Demons of Chaos. They've done very well this game. Crocsgores and Dark Riders, Dread Spears, and Crocsgores fighting to the death here, and a handful of Cold One Riders riding past the Dread Spears and all those dead Saurus. But the High Elves are still having a very hard time getting any kind of assault working here. They have been fighting these Black Ark Corsairs for a while, and the High Elf Spears in their phalanx have held the line admirably well. But can they break through all those Dark Elf infantry? It's going to be a really, really tough fight. So the High Elf Cavalry is shifted all the way over to the open plain, to engage these units out where they can actually be used much more effectively. Again, using cavalry in city streets, very difficult. Really only going to be able to do a lot of damage in the plaza. In the streets, they just kind of bug out, and cavalry has a hard time getting their charge bonus off. But out on the open plane, they could do a lot more damage. Slann Mage Priest here, firing in from the flank, doing some decent damage to the Bloodletters of Khorne and the Daemons of Chaos. Looks like there's a handful of Clan Rictus Storm Vermin still alive. And see that Bloodletter that just got set on fire? That would be the Slann Mage Priest doing quite a bit of damage. And they can actually fire while hidden too. Or at least they can move while hidden. I don't know if they can fire while hidden. But they're very tough to see. And there's no infantry that's going to be able to close them down in melee. So I saw them, and I'm just letting Synn do as much damage as he wants to do for now. And kill a bunch of these demons off for me while I kind of let my cavalry kind of regen their stamina. But pretty soon, yeah, right here, I'm going to mobilize my cav and get ready to assault and finish off these demons who are not ready to engage me because they're still killing a few more storm vermin. Once those storm vermin are dead, they can then focus on my cav. But when they're still tied up, engaging each other, I can get some really nice hammer and anvils off. The Skink Priests are going to start firing into my cav as well. And that is when I say, hell no, Synn, sorry, I've let you live for long enough here. You're going to be doing a lot of damage to my cav. Skink Priests aren't even going to see it coming right from behind. Silverhound smacking into their rear. And the entire Skink Priest unit going to die. Synn's general dies in the charge as well. Dragon Princes of Caledor smashing into the flank of the Bloodletters of Khorne and the Daemons of Chaos, doing crap loads of damage there. And another charge from the Silver Helms into these Demonettes. There are 34 before the charge, and actually 34 after. So that gives you a good indication of the power of demon units. No, they're not going to be able to take multiple charges like that, but just the fact that they can take a single charge from a pretty powerful cavalry unit like the Silver Helms is pretty crazy. But now I'm just pancaking them. They are stuck between a rock and a hard place. Silver Helms, all that mobility and charge bonus, smacking into them from multiple angles. All these demon units are going to die, and that will give me the mobility and the strength out on the open plain. Now again, using this cav inside the city is going to be very difficult, but as long as I can kill all these units outside, it'll be worth it for me. It'll shift things more in my favor, and you see that balance bar starting to creep a little bit more in my favor. When this game started out, it said I had pretty much no chance of winning, and now that red is starting to creep forward a little bit, but I still have a lot of work to do if I want any hope of winning this game. There are so many more troops left on the field. The Clan Rictus Storm Vermin moving towards the plaza now after all that Poison Wind shenanigans, and I'm finally wrapping up the demons outside the city. Get an awesome look at the Temple City as well. Again, the Aztec cities, the Aztec assets in general look so good on this mod for the Lizardmen. It fits the aesthetic of the Lizardmen perfectly. But my White Lions of Trace are now deep into combat with a bunch of Dread Spears and a few Dark Riders. This is going to be a tough fight too. Got those two-handed axes, and I believe the White Lions might cause armor piercing, although it might have gotten changed. A lot of units that did have armor piercing in previous versions of the mod got it taken away, so it's a much more elite and rare thing that happens now. But those White Lions might be able to cut through those Dread Spears given enough time. Slann Mage Priest is getting ready to fire though. We'll see what he does. There's some Saurus Warriors engaging the Bloodletters, and the Demons have pushed through to the plaza. So now there's a three-way war for the plaza, actually four-way, because the Cold Ones were also killing the Skink Archers there too. High Elves are the only ones that have not made it to the plaza yet. And with that said, I'm getting close if I can break through these Dark Elves. But breaking through that Phalanx is going to be a serious problem. Again, I think given enough time, the White Lions could probably do it, but I could also use some help. And it does look like the Mage Priest was shifting his gaze towards this direction. Gotta pray at this point he's not gonna shoot me, and instead it clears the way for my White Lions. And yes, that is exactly what is gonna happen. Wow. Exactly what I needed. There is no collusion there. You just Stan decided to shoot the Dark Elves so that I could break through and come reinforce. Which, of course, I'm not going to reinforce. I'm not going in there to help the Lizardmen out. I'm trying to win this Temple City for myself, for the Azure. But, actually, I'm not going to send my White Lions there. I'm going to send them to the gate. And that is going to be an important decision, which I'll show in a second here. But my Swordmasters have engaged a bunch of the Bleak Swords who came down from the walls from the flank. And that is actually a great engagement for my Swordmasters. I have the Bleak Swords outnumbered, and Swordmasters are going to rip them in half anyway. Even if they weren't outnumbered, they could kill probably 1.5, 2 full units of Bleak Swords, and that's what they're going to do, just shred through them. So I'm doing really well in that melee engagement. Over back in the plaza, Ratling Gunners actually opening fire on the Temple Guard who are guarding the Slann Mage Priest. And more noxious gas, more noxious fumes going off here. Poison Wind getting some shots in to the multiple HP of those Bloodletters. It's pretty important. Now a bunch of Clan Rats, Rat Ogres, and a few Storm Vermin waiting into the melee with the Demons on this street. And this could be a very important engagement as well, because there are Flamers on the other side of this fight. And if they're able to get some good shots here, oh my god, they're going to start shooting now. And they are going to carve through those Clan Rats like a hot knife through butter. Look at that. Look at that damage. Flamers are insane. I mean, honestly, that's one of the crazy things about the units in this mod in general. If on an open plane, it might not be that great, right? Because it is so tough to do stuff like this. But in a city street with these choke points where you have no way to get around the flank, where you are forced to blob up, this is what can happen. Flamers immolating everything in a huge arc in front of them, and that Skaven assault was stopped dead in its tracks after a couple of volleys. All those Clan Rats are dead. A couple of the Rat Ogres going down as well. Beautiful use of those Flamers by Uric. Fantastic stuff. And man, if you guys aren't enjoying this kind of thing, if you're saying, oh, that's so OP, think about it. Every single one of these factions has OP quote-unquote units. That's what's making it entertaining. That's what's making it a crazy Warhammer battle. If every faction has crazy, overpowered stuff, then it's not that overpowered, right? Because every faction's able to do that kind of thing. So, I think it's been incredibly entertaining so far. It just looks more OP in this because it's a scenario first and foremost. So you don't have to worry about gold, which is normally a huge limiting factor, right? Because you don't have unlimited funds in a normal battle. And it's a siege map with brutal choke points. So all that damage that's going on right now is accentuated. These units are usually nowhere near as powerful on an open field battle. But if you get blobbed up in a choke point city street like this, yeah, you're going to get punished really hard by some of these crazy units. So my White Lions went to the gate, and they actually opened the gate, and finally I am able to get my strong mobility into the city. I can get my White Lion Chariots and my Illyrian Reavers into the flank of this gigantic Dark Elf blob, and this is exactly what I need to turn the melee fight in my favor, charging into their rear and eviscerating a bunch of these Black Ark Corsairs and Dark Elf units, the Shades, with some beautiful rear charges, and the White Lions and the Illyrian Reavers are going to follow it up. Those are a bow cav unit that also have lances on the charge. Beautiful rear charge, and what looked to be an incredible grind that was taking so long. I mean, you can look at that. Look at the ground. So many dead Dark Elf and High Elf units already just laying on the ground there. But finally, I have the rear charge that I needed to turn this fight in my favor and start pushing through to the plaza. Those Dark Elf units are not going to be able to survive those kind of brutal rear charges. And with that, I'm going to be able to continue on and move further into the city. Really important moment in the battle right there. Over here, you can see a bunch of Dragon Princes of Caledor on the ground. Got murdered by some rat swarm, which is stupid as hell. I was mad about that. I should not have lost that many elite cavalry units to rat swarm. And the reason is that they have really low stats, but there's so many in a unit, and they can kind of gang up that like if you aren't able to get good charges off, rat swarm can still bring down some of your elite units, which is kind of stupid. They need to have like 0, 0, 0 stats. They just need to be complete chaff. They should not be able to kill that many elite dragon princes. That was really dumb. But anyway, so I pulled my cav out of there, and this is a problem, right? I'm microing everywhere. I'm microing in the middle of the settlement. I'm microing on the other side of the settlement, and I had cav moving on this city street. I'm going to completely forget about my general here. This is my general unit, and Black Guard of Nagaron that I did not see are going to engage them, and with their halberds and their armor piercing, which I do believe they have because they are a very elite melee unit for the Dark Elves, they're going to wade in and just scythe my High Elf cavalry apart. And I'm not going to notice it. They're still getting cut to pieces. I've lost half my... They're actually doing the moonwalk here, moving backwards. That looks really goofy. But they're going to cut through my cav unit, and my bodyguard and my general even are going to go down here. Really unfortunate, but that is what happened. The moonwalk from the Dark Elves, man. That's brutal. But yeah, that's a big mistake. In a game that's this close, that's actually... Oh, Skaven General's going to go down as well. In a game that's this close, losing an entire cav unit that could be utilized pretty effectively in the plaza, if not in the city streets themselves, that could be the difference between a win and a loss. So, big micro mistake there. Was kind of beating myself up for that one. Pretty upset with that. Well, upset's a strong word. I didn't like that I lost my whole gen there. So, I have some Illyrian Reavers engaged with the Ratling Gunners, and in the center, lots of crazy stuff going on. Storm Vermin and Bloodletters of Khorne, Temple Guard in a three-way fight right there. That was really cool looking. Shifting over, we have the Rat Swarm, which are still there, still blocking off that entire choke point, preventing my cav from going that way and getting into the Flamers, which is annoying. And my Lothern Sea Guard, we're trying to get rid of them, and this is when I'm going to notice the Flamers, who are now firing into the flank, and this is just the worst spot imaginable. A tar pit, and then Flamers firing in, and look at the devastation. Look at that. How is that balanced? I love it, but it's so annoying. I was so sad here. I'm going to lose an entire Lothern Sea Guard unit to a bunch of Flamers. Now, those Flamers, by the way, at this point in the battle, have 600, 700 plus kills. They have done an obscene amount of work in this game. You saw them burn through like 200 clan rats. They are a problem. They need to die. Those Ratling Gunners need to die. A lot of the elite units that cause so much carnage are still on the field somehow. They've been kept alive by good play from everybody, good positioning, making sure that they aren't shut down. Now, it was really annoying because the Ratling Gunners, I have committed multiple units to trying to kill them. The White Lion Chariots have gone in to try to kill them, I believe. The Illyrian Reavers definitely have. They engaged them and just straight up could not kill them. I don't know why. Ratling Gunners are just hard to kill for some reason. I am to get a good charge here with my Illyrian Reavers into the Clan Rats, do a bit of damage, and White Lion Chariots are now going to charge in again through a bunch of Clan Rats, carve through them, and then make a beeline straight for the Ratling Gunners. But those Ratling Gunners just won't die, and the longer they stay alive, the more damage they can do, and they can seriously rack up some carnage very quickly if you give them any amount of time to fire. You saw what they did to my Silver Helms when I tried to charge in. And that's a really fast unit, too. Think about it. So, they're going to be scary. Those Flamers in the late game are going to be really scary. There's a lot of stuff. So, I have to get my cav in here now. There's just too much going on for me to not commit my cav. I need to make sure I take those units off the field, so they'll be making their way towards the central plaza, and hopefully be enough to win me the game. Now, Richard's being a little bit sneaky here. Witch Elves of Cain, Cold One Knights, and the Blackguard of Nagaron are waiting in reserve, kind of replenishing their stamina, and just hiding in the street right there, waiting to spring their ambush, waiting until more stuff kill each other in the central plaza. Ratling Gunners, still alive. Still alive. They should not still be alive. I have tried to kill them so many times. Again, gonna charge in, gonna lose a chariot model right there. Charge in, and they still won't die. They don't even have multiple HP. There's just something about their hitbox, something that's a little bit goofy. And so, even with another charge from the chariots, like some of those Ratling Gunners are going to be able to get away and continue firing in. Now, the Slann Mage Priest is dead at this point, by the way. I guess we can say that the Mage Priest himself isn't dead. He's put a protective bubble around himself, but all his Temple Guard are dead, and he's not able to fire anymore. He's been effectively silenced, so he doesn't actually drop and look dead in the game, but he's unable to make an impact on the game at this point going forward. So, getting really crazy here in the late game. I've got High Elf Archers firing in, some Lothern Sea Guard moving up as well. Kind of wasting my ammunition there, shooting at a single Storm Vermin model. And I have my White Lion Chariots still trying to kill the Ratling Gunners. There are some Bloodletters of Khorne still in the central plaza. And now the Dark Elves are coming. The Brides of Cain, Malekith's personal biddies are going to be going straight towards the plaza. And I need to silence those. I need to kill them real quickly. But the problem is those Rat Swarm are still being super annoying in this choke point, and I just said, screw it, I gotta commit my cav. I have to get this Rat Swarm off the field. Can't make them rout, they're unbreakable, Honestly, probably too good for the price. Probably too good for what they're supposed to be. A little butthurt about what those Rat Swarm were able to do to my Cav in this game. But look at the balance bar. It's about 50-50 at this point. I have a chance to win this game. After all that's happened so far, after all the units I've killed, after all the carnage that has occurred throughout this Temple City and outside it, I still have a chance to win. It is pretty much going to be a three-way war now. Lizardmen are out of the fold. They're out of the mix. They're not going to be able to win this game. They have nothing left at this point. The Skaven are not going to be able to win this game either. They have nothing left. Oh, God. Oh, the Flamers again, man. Look at that death. Look at the fire. So many High Elf archers killed there. I'm going to try to kill them back. Get a good charge into the Flamers here. But it's going to be between Chaos, the Dark Elves, and the High Elves. Those are the three factions still left alive that have a chance to win this game. I can kill the Flamers here, and the Disc Sorcerers could maybe... Oh no, and then the Disc Sorcerers are going to open fire on the Chariots, and they're dropping like flies now. That's a really expensive, really powerful unit that just got completely burned to a crisp. And that was a bad unit to lose. So the demons are able to take down my Chariots, and you can see that shifted the balance bar pretty far back in my opponent's favor. Swordmasters of Hoeth wading into melee with the Brides of Cain. I do have a sizable infantry force left compared to what's actually still on the field, but I don't really have a good way to silence those Flamers. Now, watching the replay back now, what I should have done at this point is send my Illyrian Reavers directly into those Flamers right now. And I don't know why I didn't. I should have, because I had a free charge into them. Don't know if I would have been able to kill them off the charge, but they're going to now shoot into the flank of my Swordmasters and burn them to a crisp. And that is really bad. I would have loved to see him turn those Brides of Cain into shish kebab and completely burn them, but he went for my High Elves instead. Swordmasters getting burned alive here. The High Elf Archers also getting immolated, and now the Dark Elves are making their move. Blackguard of Nagorond and the Cold One Riders engaging in melee. Warriors of Chaos charging up the center, also getting thrown into the mix here. But my Illyrian Reavers, instead of charging into the flank of the Witch Elves, definitely should have gone for the Flamers and silenced them. Now I still have my High Elf Mages in the back, still firing in, trying to kill the Flamers, but I don't think I have line of sight to kill them. So I'm forced to shoot at the Chaos Warriors, and that's really not the unit I want to be shooting at right now. Because they're important, but the Flamers can literally kill an entire infantry unit in a couple of seconds if you're not paying attention to them. And unfortunately, again, did not protect my High Elf Mages. Cold One Riders going to shish kebab them with a lance charge, and those Cold Ones themselves gonna rip them apart, eviscerate them, and my High Elf Mages are pretty much dead now too. Another expensive unit that I should not have let die there, honestly. Like, it was just bad micromanagement. And there's a lot going on right now, so I think it's fair to say that microing this game when you're worrying about a unit on one side of a Temple City and another side of the Temple City and just all this stuff that's going on right now is really tough. But there were definitely a couple mistakes here that I should not have made, and it is hurting me bad. I am not out of this yet. I can still win this game, but definitely starting to lose those units that could possibly make that decisive impact here at the end of the game. With that said though, Illyrian Reavers getting a nice rear charge into the back of the Chaos Warriors. Actually some friendly fire. Actually that might have been from the High Elf Mages actually. I don't think that was from the... that could have been from the Flamers. Might have been friendly fire. I'm not sure. Either way, some of the Chaos Warriors are going to go down to all that fire. And I'm getting some decent charges off, but don't want to be sticking around in melee. Those are light cav. Really not ideal for the grinded out melee fest that maybe Dragon Princes of Caledor could deal with. High Elf Archers charging into melee, trying to protect my Mage of Sapphire. But again, Richard microwaves Cold Ones very well. Getting away from those High Elf Archers. Gonna get a nice charge into my Sapphire Mage. And the Witch Elves are gonna finish him off. Mages are gone now. And things are looking very bleak for the Azure. With that said, things are looking very bleak for the Demons of Chaos too. If we work together, might be able to bring down the Drukai here in the late game. And that's one of the beautiful things about this battle, right? The fact that there are 6 factions vying for control of this temple city, you can kind of work together in many different ways and continuously shift alliances and try to manipulate how the battle is progressing by, oh, hey, look, the Dark Elves are winning here. Let me help out the High Elves, like with that shot from Mazda Mundi or from the Slann Mage Priest, to let the High Elves break through and then give me a better chance to win. And then if things start shifting the other way, then you can do something else to shift it back and make it easier for your faction to win. So with the Demons of Chaos, if we work together here, Flamers and the Disc Sorcerers might be enough to finish off the Dark Elves. Now my Silverhounds are going to charge into melee with the Cold One General, and I'm actually outnumbering him in the cav fight here, and I'm going to bring down the Dark Elf General. That could be a big deal too. Balance bar looking very bad for me, but you also don't know where the Demons of Chaos are on that equation. They still have some Warriors of Chaos left alive, and I believe they still have their Disc Sorcerer and their Flamers, although I'm not 100% sure about that. We'll see in a second. But I'm going to charge into the flank of the Blackguard of Nagaron. Cold One's going to finish that charge off, charge back into me, and we're going to get a cav engagement over here. Dragon Princes of Caledor coming in to reinforce. Silverhounds are breaking, but Dragon Princes are very powerful heavy cav, and we've got a Cold One Rider waiting into melee with them. A single one against, what is that, 8 or 10 Dragon Princes? Let's see how this goes. So the Dark Elf Cold One Rider gonna bring down 1 Dragon Prince of Caledor. 2. Alright, we're gonna have to watch him. We're gonna have to watch that guy, because Richard's Cold One Rider, only 1 dude left in that unit. Let's see what kind of damage he can do. Alright, so we've got about, yeah, looks like 8 or so Dragon Princes of Caledor left. How many more can this Cold One Rider bring down? That's number 3. Uno, dos, tres. He's got 3 of them. And they're going to continue fighting. I mean, I'm completely surrounding him. I don't know how that Cold One Rider hasn't died yet. He does have multiple HP. Again, that's number 4, number 5. Wow. Dude. He might solo the rest of that Dragon Prince unit, which is weird, because Dragon Princes are a very elite heavy cav unit. He's got 5 right now. Where's he at? What can he do? Can he finish off this? 6? He's got 6 now. And there are 4 left. I can't believe... Dude. 7! This is insane. There's no way he's going to finish off... 8! Okay, and he goes down. He killed 8 Dragon Princes and finally goes down. A little bit embarrassing for the High Elf Dragon Princes, I feel like. They should have been able to do better than that. So I'm going to go down. And at this point, it should be obvious. Dark Elves are in the ascendancy. Richard is going to take it with the Drukai. But look at what he has left. As I charge in with the Dragon Princes of Caledor, he has a quarter strength unit of Witch Elves and a half strength unit of Blackguard of Nagaron, and that is it. That is all that remains after that battle. After 10,000 troops were on the field from 5 different races, about 70 or 80 Dark Elves managed to take the field and take that final plaza. That was it. Insane. Absolutely insane. So Yorick and the Demons of Chaos Undivided ended up dominating that in terms of kills. He had 3,000 something kills. Carried that. Had an insane amount of kills there. His Flamers got almost 1,000 by themselves. They're just brutal in streets and choke points like this, man. And then my units did very well. Some of them got easily over 300, though my Dragon Princes did not do particularly well. The biggest impacts on the game were the Slann Mage Priest and the Flamers for sure. But I think Lord of Change and the Cold One Riders definitely made big impacts on the game as well. Great game to all players. Sorry, rest in peace to Synn the Dark Cloud for only getting 200 kills, but fantastic scenario. Hope you guys enjoyed.